Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Carr. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Business Development Manager for Arts and Business Northern Ireland. Thank you all so much for coming out on this beautiful morning to support us in this event, which is the penultimate event of Winners Week, which was very generously funded by DCAL as part of Creativity Month Northern Ireland. For those of you, I know a few of you have been to some of the other events, but for those of you that haven't managed to make them, what we've actually done over the week is showcase each of the winning and highly commended partnerships, which were from the Alliance Arts and Business Northern Ireland Awards, which were held in January in this beautiful building. And the partnership we're going to focus on this morning is the Arts, Business and Employees category, which was won by the Lyric Theatre and the Northern Bank. And we have Richard Gaston from the Lyric and Vanessa and Lorraine here from the Northern Bank. And they're going to talk later a bit about their partnership and explain how it's worked for both the Lyric and for the Northern Bank. And we're absolutely delighted to welcome Professor Giovanni Schiuma. He's flown in all the way from southern Italy to enjoy the Belfast sunshine, and so it's wonderful to have him here. We had Professor Schiuma over a couple of years ago, I think, to host a similar breakfast session, and it was really fantastic. Everyone went away completely energised, wanting to do something with their employees, so we're hoping we're going to have a similar effect this morning. So you're very welcome. Thank you very much, Professor. The format's going to be relatively informal. I'm going to hand over to Professor Schiuma in a minute. If you have any questions, I think there's part of the presentation that we can do that, and also we're around. So if after the morning you're thinking, right, this is brilliant, I want to get all my employees working with the arts, getting them creative, do talk to us. We are in our 25th year, so we're pretty well placed to help you with any project you might be interested in doing, and I'm more than happy to do so. That's all I need to say, I think. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Professor Schiuma. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? You good?
Yes.
Good. Actually, we have some very nice sun. And finally, I discovered that also in Belfast you have sun. So last time I was here was quite miserable. So I thought, well, I was psychologically prepared, but this time I found very nice sun. So today we will be speaking a little bit about the power of arts for engaging employees and for engaging people more generally within and around the organization. We have just less than 1 hour, and probably if I would like to go through the power of arts in business, I would need more than 1 hour, maybe a couple of days to go through in detail, analyzing why organizations need arts today in their business. But the idea today is to try to spark some reflection, some ideas about why it's important to integrate arts in business. I started my research on the role of arts in business 5 years ago now, actually thanks to Arts and Business that commissioned me a study about the role of arts in business. So I started to investigate why arts are important in organization. Why do we need arts in today's business? And this picture from an artist somehow summarized my basic idea. For me, art is today at the core of change for organization. Arts represent a very powerful means to change management mindset, to innovate business model, to innovate management, because management as a discipline is quite traditional. I would say is like a combustion engine, is a mature technology, so we need to reinvent management. And arts represent a very important knowledge domain from where we can get insights, we can get knowledge to innovate business in general. The result of my research has been recently published in a book from Cambridge University Press, The Value of Arts for Business. I would have enjoyed and liked very much to bring a copy of the book for each of you, but that was not possible from the South Italy. So I brought with me just one copy, but I had an idea. Actually, I would ask you to put your business card here, so I can draw a business card at the end of the day and give my signed copy. So that would be a kind of prize for me today, and trying to make a little bit. Please, if you can circulate and put your business card, and then I will sign my copy. So the basic fundamental question, so we can try to make this day a little bit more exciting. Actually, I would like to make the day as much as possible, the hour that we will spend together as much as possible informal. And so please feel free to interrupt me. I'm sure also our guest that will present the case study and to put some questions. So the basic question that I've been investigating in my book and is the value of arts for business. Why, what kind of value arts provide to business, and why organization needs to bring arts in their business. And I believe that we need to start the day with a very short reflection about why do arts matter in business. We need to start with this fundamental understanding. Because today when we look at the business world and the art world, these are two worlds that are still separated. And the kind of relationship that we have from this kind of world are somehow one-off relationship, are some partnership that are not very well integrated. And I believe that business today needs arts and needs to absorb the arts. And why this is the case? I would like to start with a metaphor. I love this metaphor. I like to compare and to consider a company like a plane. So the idea is that when we consider this as our company, the problem that managers have is basically to understand how they can govern this company, how they can steer, how they can manage the company. And the metaphor that we can use to represent the management systems that organization put in place is the cockpit analogy, if you want the balance scorecard approach. I mean, English and American are very obsessed with measurement. I'm not like Italian, but this is positive. And so the idea is that we can consider an organization as a kind of matching system-like system where we have a set of indicators, key performance indicators, which allow to govern, to control, to monitor, to improve the performance of the organization. But again, this is a kind of machine-like system approach to the organization. And this works well when organizations are operating in a stable environment or in a steady, evolving environment. But what happens when an organization is operating in a more complex, turbulent, chaotic, unpredictable, ambiguous, uncertain environment? And this is basically, these are the properties that characterize today's business environment. In this context, this system is still operating well. Is this the system, the rational management system, still working well? Well, my point is that probably, as you can understand intuitively, this is not the case. And I would like to show you a very short video. This video, I don't know if you are familiar with. This is a Boeing. A few months ago, they had to land without the aircraft cart. So no wheels for landing, because there was a problem, but they had to land at some point because the fuel was going down. And so they managed, as you can see from the video, they'll be able to land without the aircraft cart. So in this case, my question is, the cockpit system was important for them? Of course it was. But was that the system that allowed to achieve this result? Well, the point is that it is not that dimension that really characterized the success of this landing. What made the difference is basically, we can go home, what makes the difference are the people in the pilot that have been able to make the difference. And these are today, in a very complex, in a very turbulent, unpredictable environment, these are the key resources, the key assets that organization needs to deploy and exploit: the people. Well, the role of people, the centrality of people in business is not new. What is new is the focus on that centrality. I mean, if we go back to the scientific management, of course people were important, but what we were looking for were the arms of people, the labor. Then we move in the information society, we recognize that we need to provide people with the right information to take the right decision. And then we move in the knowledge economy, where we start to realize that we need to develop our core competence, the key know-how in order to manage to achieve high performance. But today the question for you is still the know-how the key success factor for organization? Well, know-how today is a commodity. We can buy know-how everywhere. Knowledge is available. The internet is available everywhere. There is always someone else in the world that knows what we know. And it is able to do what we know better than what we do. So what is the factor that makes the difference? When we look at these people, what are the key dimensions that can make a difference today within an organization? And the key factors for success in the 21st century business landscape is what I call the 5+1 E factors. +1 because we will see why. The first dimension is emotions. Emotions traditionally have been considered as a dimension in organization which create problems. Something to avoid, something to control, something to reduce. Today, organizations need to understand how they can disclose this dimension and make sure that people can fall in love with their organization. What makes the difference today is the people that are in love with what they do. What makes the difference is about customers that are in love with the organization, stakeholders that are in love with the organization. So emotion is a dimension that needs to be exploited and deployed within the organization. And together with the emotion, there is another dimension, which is the energy. How can we energize the organization? We create a kind of energy where people are really engaged to give the best of themselves. And here I have another video which somehow summarizes these two dimensions, that somehow sparks some reflection around the importance of these two dimensions. This video is from the CEO of Microsoft. I don't know if you have watched this video already. Well, it looks like excited, you know? Excited, energetic. How can what is a convention? So
Next team meeting, right?
I don't know if you do your convention like this. So here we can see the energy, but I want to. It's very short, so it's almost finishing. Of course, it's quite hard now. So I believe this is the point. I love this company. I was reading some of the interviews of Steve Jobs, and what he said is that for us it's not important that people know how. What is important is to understand if people can fall in love with our organization. This is becoming a very important dimension. When we think about the productivity, when we think about the performance, what makes the difference is not the performance in itself, but what is driving the performance is performing. And performing depends not only from the know-how, but depends from the emotional, the energetic dimension. And these are two critical dimensions. The third dimension and the fourth dimension of the E's is the experience. More and more we are living in an experience-based economy. What we buy every day, particularly in Western countries, we buy experiences. We buy experiences when we buy a suit, when we live in the organization. So what we need to do today is to build experiences within the organization, around the organization, in our products. So experience is becoming more and more important as a dimension to create. And also the servitization process is somehow an indicator of this process. Then ethics. Ethics is about the values, the culture that affect the behaviors, that affect the attitudes, that affect the decision, the action that we take within the organization. It is about also leadership that today needs to be a shared leadership within the organization. And then environment. And when I speak about the environment, I speak about both the anthropic environment and the natural environment. Today, organizations need more and more from, if you want, the anthropic point of view to realize that we need to shape environment that affect our atmosphere, the context in which we work. And this is very important in order to energize, in order to create emotion, to create experience. And when we speak about environment, of course, we speak also about the natural environment. And today, more and more organizations need to move their attention from outputs to outcomes. The idea is not only what I produce, but are the impacts that I have with my production system and the difference that I can make in society. So these are the 5 E factors, and my last 6th factor is engagement, which somehow is the result, is the combination of all the other factors. Today, in order to create a very productive organization, we need to engage our people. And engagement means to make sure that are ready to give the best of themselves. probably what happened in most of the organization, at least in the public Italian organization, is that people, when go in the work, they switch off their emotional brain, and okay, they do the work because it's that duty, they need to pay bills at the end of the month. But where is their passion? Their passion is somewhere else, in their hobbies. But what we want is that people are really engaged in what they do, and that engagement is related to the other dimension. So the problem is, how do we manage all these dimensions? These are quite difficult to manage. We cannot use the traditional scientific-based principles, the Tayloristic approach. If we look into the management models that we still use today, are still stuck in the scientific management principles. Six Sigma or the balanced scorecard, the principles were in the Taylor's approach. So basically, the management, and this is something that Eric Gamel is stressing very well, we need to innovate the management too. But the problem is, how can we innovate the management? How we can introduce a new toolbox, management toolbox? And here is where is the role of arts. Arts is a way to manage aesthetic dimension within an organization. The arts represent the knowledge domain from which we can get approaches, tools. We can approach means, we can get means in order to manage this dimension that the traditional models don't allow to manage. And we can identify, of course, I could spend all day explaining why and how arts work, but I want to summarize the functions of art in two fundamental dimensions. Arts can represent a very powerful learning platform. That means that we can use arts in order to support people development, training in all the soft skills that are increasingly becoming important. And arts can represent a very powerful management means as a way to create intangible value. In order to increase the value added, both in the organization infrastructure, when we think about identity, culture. Culture, what is culture? Culture is very intangible, soft. How can we make culture tangible? How we can make sure that people understand what they do? And arts can become so a way to create intangible value in the organization and around the product. Let's think about the design, let's think about the experiences that we create around our products. So arts represent a way basically to support organizational learning and to create intangible value. But how can we implement from practical point of view? How we can translate arts into action? And here the concept that I have introduced is the concept of arts-based initiatives. And here I want to stress the concept of initiatives, because the concept of arts-based interventions was already in place by a long time. But the kind of relationship that business used to have with arts work was basically based on intervention. That means I bring in artists for one day, half day, to make something nice with the organization, to enjoy, to create some entertaining, because artists are funny. But then, let's go back to our business. This is business, we make profit, this is the point. Initiative is a little bit different. Initiative is about distinguishing interventions, projects, and programs. And now we will be hearing about the experience of a program, of creating a partnership between business and arts. So arts-based initiatives is any organizational or management action which uses arts as a way to create aesthetic experiences or as a way to embed the arts as a business asset within the organization. And now I would like to invite Norbert Bank and the Leader Theatre to speak a little bit their experience about the arts-based initiative. And then after I will talk a little bit the benefits that the use of arts can introduce within the organization. So please join me on the floor. Thank you.
My name is Vanessa Postle and I work as a Community Affairs Manager at Northern Bank. When we took on sponsorship with Lyric, we thought about how can we spread the word internally, especially in today's economy where people are saying, well, why did the bank take on such a sponsorship? And also, we had a lot of sceptics in that the Lyric Theatre is in Belfast and Northern Bank is right across Northern Ireland, so it's about addressing all those issues that the staff had. And the best way we found was to actually invite the staff to come into the theatre, to get to know the personnel, to come in and see it when it was only starting to be built. We had a tour around and our staff finally, from the very start, felt linked to Lyric. We came up with the title Lyric Leads. and it just seemed to flow from there. It seemed to be that we didn't realise that we had a pool of staff who really were interested in the arts, and maybe they worked in the bank during the day, and a lot of them worked in amateur dramatics, for instance, and it was a way of engaging those interests. It's a way of picking that up. A lot of staff were interested in other aspects of the theatre as well, such as the marketing, such as just promotion, and we also needed to promote our staff and customer offers. We thought, what better way than to engage in staff who are ambassadors, who know the whole project inside out and are able to talk from experience. So if you come into the counter in Northern Bank branch, you would come across someone who's actually been and seen it for themselves. And as you say, they have that energy, they have that passion because they've been involved. And that's what we found has really worked for us. And I'll hand over to Lorraine, who is an actual lyric lead, and she could just talk about even her recent experience this week.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Lorraine Rodder. I work for the Northern Bank. I'm a service manager in the lending department. I was really excited to be asked to be a lyric lead. It's a fabulous opportunity. I've been in it right from the word go, right from when the building was first opened, brought down to be shown around the building in all its newness, and it was the most zany experience I've ever encountered because there was so many weird things happening that night. I mean, I found myself locked in a cupboard in the darkness. I found myself brought into a toilet, the men's toilet, in darkness with people crying in the cubicles, and I thought, oh my God, is this real life, or do I have to find out what's wrong with them? So that was the experience of the lyric for me at the very beginning. And then since then, been very fortunate to have been asked down to a lot of read-throughs. I was at the read-through of The Crucible, which was absolutely fabulous, and then attended the showing of that. Been to quite a lot of read-throughs, The Jungle Book, Dockers, Painkiller, and this week then attended the first read-through of The Civilization Game, which was brilliant. So the whole objective of all of that was to go back then to staff and try to portray my enthusiasm for what I'd seen and experienced to the staff and make them want to come to the lyric. And I would do rollouts to the staff. I work in a building where there's 300 people, so I would do rollouts to them on a regular basis about the latest production and try to enthuse them and get them to come along and see. So it's worked very well, and I think they then are enthusiastic and they go home and talk to their family and friends and say, we have to go and see this play, this girl was raving about it. And the thing is, though, you're just hoping that your enthusiasm is well founded, because if you go along and don't like it, then they'll, you have to take that on board. But so far it has worked really well, and I've loved every minute of it. And it means as well, when I do the rollouts to the staff, I engage them, bring them together, and as Giovanni was saying, it's imparting that enthusiasm to other people, and making them laugh, and then they're going away in the workplace and hopefully being a little bit uplifted that day that they've had maybe a rollout about a play, and then when they go and see the play, hopefully they'll be even more uplifted. So it's been a great experience, and I would recommend it for all workplaces. So there you go. Okay.
Or comments, or you want to ask something particular, please?
Could I just add to that from the lyric theatre's point of view? Thank you very much, Lorraine. You'll not be surprised to hear that 1 year on there are still grown men crying in the toilet. A whole different story. From the lyrics point of view, I mean, I suppose for us, the two main benefits of the lyric leads are, as you say, I can send out posters, flyers, emails to my heart's content to Northern Bank and everybody, telling them how wonderful Tim Noon's new play, The Civilization Game, is. And some of them might go, that sounds interesting. I might think about going to that, but when somebody from the bank who's actually been in the rehearsal room and seen that first read through and actually knows how funny it is, goes back into the bank and tells people, I've just seen a rehearsal of this, it's absolutely amazing, you must go and see this, they're much more likely to believe you than they are me. I have such low opinion of marketing people. But also for us, the lyric leads get a glimpse of part of the lyrics theatre that is normally not seen by the general public. It's a very closed shop, the rehearsal process. Actors like it to be a closed shop. Actors feel very vulnerable when they're in the rehearsal room. trying to create a character for their latest production, and they don't like any intrusion at all. So it's a wonderful thing for us to have got the support of directors in allowing the lyric leads into the rehearsal room. And for us, it helps to get that message out about what a producing theatre does, because I still think that people struggle sometimes when you say producing theatre to understand what does that actually mean. For us, it's very important that we differentiate ourselves from the Grand Opera House, from the Belfast Waterfront, from the new Metropolitan Arts Centre. All fantastic projects, but for us, we have to get the message out what it is that we do that's different from what they do. So for the lyric leads to come in to the rehearsal room, to see actors kind of going through the lines for the first time, coming back at a later stage, at the kind of the dress rehearsal stage, coming in, seeing the last minute sort of preparations, people in the wardrobe department running around, fiddling around with bits of costume at the last minute, people running around trying to find missing props, stage management, flying the scenery in and out. They get a wonderful sense of how a lyric production comes together. Because for us, and again, picking up on Vanessa's point about the lyric being Belfast based, we do see ourselves as very much a theatre for Northern Ireland, and we promote Northern Ireland. Our product promotes Northern Ireland on the international stage. We provide employment locally for actors, writers, directors, designers. That's what we do. That's different from other venues. From first rehearsal to final curtain, the product that we create here is very much a product of Northern Ireland. And having the lyric leads coming in, seeing what's going on around the building, and going out and telling people about what we do is obviously a huge benefit to us, hopefully as well as to the Northern Bank.
Thank you. I believe it is important to stress that when we consider the relationship, the partnership between arts and business, it is important to make a very important distinction between creative industry, where basically we create wealth through creative industry, cultural industry, arts management, when we apply the business principle in the arts and the cultural industry. But what we are speaking here is about arts-based management. It's about using the arts as a means to improve the organization. And when we think about the use of arts in order to improve the performance of an organization, we need to stress that in order to support business performance improvement through arts, it is not only about bringing in artists or arts or creating a one-off relationship, but it is more about integrating arts in business. But the problem for business is then how do we assess the value? How can we make sure that the use of arts is really making a difference, is producing a benefit? Because at the end of the day, I need to prove the results. I need to prove the return on my investment in the arts. And so what I would like now to stress and to address, of course, again, we could go through more in detail, but at least I want to give you the basic first understanding of the benefits that arts can provide to business in terms of impact on value drivers. We need to start from the recognition that arts have the power to affect aesthetic experiences and properties. So that means that through arts we can shape aesthetic experiences that engage the E factors that we were speaking about before, but at the same time they can shape aesthetic properties when we think about the organization, the interior design, when we think about the products, so when we think more generally about the dimension of the organization. So in order to identify the value drivers that can be affected by the arts, and then to have a basic understanding of the benefits that we can get from involving the business in arts, I have developed this model, the arts value matrix. The basic idea of this model is that when we use arts, we can use arts addressing either people, so the idea is to use arts as a way to develop our human resources within the organization, or we can use arts as a way to develop the organizational infrastructure. And when I speak about the organizational infrastructure, I'm referring to the tangible and intangible structural dimension of an organization. So I'm speaking about the facilities, the equipment, I'm speaking about the products, but I'm speaking also about the culture, the image, the identity, the reputation of the organization. So starting from this distinction, fundamental distinction, for simplicity's sake, we can identify the impact of the arts on people development and on organizational development in low, medium, and high. And then we can identify 9 fundamental value drivers or benefits that can be generated by the use of arts. So the first impact is entertainment. Every time we bring artists or we create a link between business and arts, we create fun, we create enjoyment, we release adrenaline, as we were hearing before. People get excited, people get the emotion in motion. But the problem is that when we generate and we use art as an entertainment, and this is very important when we do events, when you organize your events, when you organize the launch of a new product or new service, whatever you are thinking or planning, and you need to create this entertainment, this experience around your product, then you can use the arts. But the problem is that the kind of impact that you have on people and the organization infrastructure is not long-lasting. Because people, they go back home and they forget, and they go back to their life with their own problems, with their own dynamics and so on. But then you can use arts as a way to engage the energy of people, to change a kind of mood. This is what I call galvanizing. This is the way when you need to engage the energy of people, to prepare people for an action. Think about now we are living in a recession period. People tend to be depressed. People tend to be down with their mood. So how can we try to raise this stamina in order to make sure that they can go through a difficult time, because this is what we are living. So in this case, you can use arts as a way to support and to create this energy within the organization, or when you need to go through a change management program, or you need to launch a new project, and so on. But then when you want to have a more deep impact, and you can use arts in order to have a more deep impact in people. And then you can use what I call the arts as an inspirational means. That means that you can use arts as a way to create self-assessment, self-discipline, self-confidence. How can we change the attitudes, the mindset of people? For sure we cannot change the mindset, say you should behave like this. This doesn't work. We can see that with the children. It doesn't work when we say to children, you should behave like this. The only thing that you can do is let people experience and understand by themselves how they can do that in order to activate a deep reflection. And here arts, theater can come in place and can provide a very important contribution. But then arts can be used as a way not only to impact on people, can be used as a way to impact on the organization infrastructure, and then in order to raise reputation. Reputation, when I speak about reputation, I speak of course about the brand, the image, the identity of the organization, who we are, where we are. We are in Belfast, and we want to promote Belfast around the world. So, how do we do this? Well, this is the sponsorship, if you want. The sponsorship, which is a very traditional relationship between arts and business. But today, organizations are not just looking for sponsorship in order to see their brand on the leaflet, the flyer of a lyric theater representation. They want to have more, they want to have an engagement, they want to get an experience, they want to get more value. But this is up to the business to design a proper relationship with the art world. And then we can use art as a way to shape the environment, in particular the workplace, the workspace within and around the organization. And this is very important because the space gives the energy, creates the atmosphere. So we spend most of our days in the office. How is our office? Is it a place that engages us, that makes us happy in the morning to go to work, or makes us sad? This is our key question that we need to reflect, because we want to go in the office and be happy to go in the office. And this is a way, and the arts can help to shape this. Not only for the lobby, because we want to create a fantastic lobby that people, customers coming in, they are having an impact. We want to create spaces for our workers in order to make them what I will call later on emotive workers, not only knowledge workers, people that are engaged with their own emotion. And then of course we can use arts to train people, to develop people, because there are some important skills. We were speaking about the rehearsal. How many times business people can rehearse in their business life? So how we can let them experience the rehearsal in order to understand that they can take risks, how actors do. Or we can teach improvisation skills, communication skills. These are important dimensions today in today's business. So training and personal development, well, this is probably the most explored and applied approach of the arts in business. And then we have the arts as an investment. And when I speak here about investments, I'm not speaking about arts collections. I'm speaking here about the use of arts as a value-added factor. The use of arts in order to increase the value around our product. The bank, how can we create new services using arts and creating new experiences rather than doing just cross-selling? Can we develop new services using the arts as a way to engage our customers, to reflect on and blah, blah, blah? Of course we can. And this is the idea. We can use arts not only as a way to design products, which is something that now very well understand, but we can use arts to create the intangible value, that experience, that aura around the products. And then we can use arts as a way to improve our relational capital, our networking within the organization through team building, between the organization and other organizations, with our stakeholders for social responsibility, and so on and so forth. So we can use art as a way to manage the network capital. And then transformation, which for me is the top. Transformation, that means that we can use arts as a way to support our continuous innovation processes within the organization, to create attention for continuous innovation and to support the continuous transformation, which is basically what we are challenged to do today. We are living in a transition time. We need to transform ourselves every single day now. So innovation is important. But innovation has been always important since human race started its journey. So what is different today is not innovation itself, it's the speed of the innovation, it's the pace of innovation. Today we need to innovate every single day, and that is the problem. How can we create an environment, a mindset where people are ready to innovate every single day? And arts can help to do that. Arts is a way to engage that soft dimension, can help to support continuous transformation. So these are some basic benefits, and this model can help somehow to understand why we should be shaping a partnership between arts and business. And then, of course, there are other models that we can apply in order to make sure that the use of arts have an impact on the business performance and assess that impact. But for doing this, it is very important to recognize that using arts, it is not just bringing artists or arts in the organization. And this is very important because there are many businesses that experience the use of arts, but the use could be detrimental. They don't get the kind of results, and they somehow, they say, well, what's the point? So why have you implemented and spend all this money for this? When that happened is because there was not the proper organization around the use of the arts. Because artists are not proficient with the business language. Business people are not proficient with the arts language. So they need to work together, and you need to have an interface. And here, the role of arts and business or other organizations can help, support, and facilitate this process. So, well, now I would like to hear something about you. So, because we have still half an hour, so we are going well. So, in order to somehow get some of your feedbacks, I was thinking to reflect on what could be or what are your Greek business challenge, and if you can somehow translate them in a question, a fundamental, or outline this Greek challenge. And in particular, I'm interested to understand, to see if you can see any relationship, or on the basis of the conversation that we had so far, you can see any way how the arts can help you to solve that business challenges. Actually, for this, yesterday I was working in Belfast, and I was looking for something, and I saw one pound shop, which is something that we don't have this. And when I was looking around, I said, well, I'm sure here I will find something interesting. And then I look at this in the kids section. So I said, well, this is perfect for tomorrow. I'm sure they will enjoy it. So what I would like you to do is to write here your challenge. We don't have a base, but we can please circulate. I would like just very few minutes. I mean, it's just a short exercise. If you can turn around, and the idea is if you can write down what is your big or great challenge that you are facing today, and please. And if you can see how the arts can help you in dealing with the challenge, and then we can share some of the thoughts around the room. Well, you can work also today together eventually. Do you have a pen? Do you need a pen? Thank you. I'm sure that you can make now a very long list of great challenges, so choose one. I'm sure that we have quite a lot of challenges nowadays. The recession and why I like to say, can you write a related question? Because when you try to formulate a question, the question helps to identify what is the real focus of the problem that we need to deal with. Are the right question, or usually it's the questioning that drive our focus? So that was my point in asking you to write a question about the great challenge. Okay, I would like to share very quickly some thoughts around the room. And anyone wants to break the ice? As we say in Italy, I don't know if you said the same.
Well, we'll start if you don't mind.
Yes.
We're going through a great change in banking at the moment. Transformation is what we're calling it. So it's the challenge is dealing with negativity, bringing older, more experienced staff along. You know, younger staff are much more open to change because that's the world they've been growing up in, and they just change. Technology changes every day, and they're open to that. Older staff are much more intransigent. They don't want to change, and it was all right the way it is. Don't change it. But we have to change in order to move. And it's trying. Our biggest challenge is dealing with the negativity, particularly of the older staff.
One of the power of the arts is the capacity of let people moving out of their comfort zone. What we do in our business every day, we create our what I call our garden. We create our small garden. We build big fence, and everyone that's trying to come in our fence, we take a gun. In the South Italy, we say "lupara," which is short canvas, big impact. So the problem is how we can put people out of their comfort zone and challenge them to change and to promote that changing. And I've been working with an organization, and this organization had the challenge to move to change the management system, the platform, from AS400 IBM software to SAP system. And the problem is that employees for 20 years used to work with that approach. So they were not happy at all to change completely, because that means to throw away 20 years of experience, of know-how, everything, and start from scratch. So they used a theater-based approach to help them to go through in a cathartic ways, if you want. And so what they have done, they've organized a funeral over a period of time, where they organized a funeral with typical Italian funerals. Funeral, celebrating, if you want, the death of ASAP400, and then a big party for celebrating the welcome SAP. So this somehow helped the people to go through this process, psychological. And then depression, tension, negativity. These are dimensions that more and more are characterizing our business context. This is what is something that we can feel our day for ourselves. We are every day, we experience negativity, depression, because it is also the environment. So we need how we change this, how we can challenge this. And here, the use of arts, the use of culture can help us provide some tools to help to deal with these issues that otherwise we cannot face. So thank you for, I mean, perfectly agree. Any other thoughts? Please?
Sure.
Please. If you could introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Lisa Kane. I'm Senior HR Manager at Innovary. And for those of you that know us or don't know us, it's a new office that's been set up here in Belfast, and I've got a team who are about 9 months in role, and it really is a collaboration of people who've frankly never worked together, have been in sort of delivery mode to deliver a high service to the organisation in London. But now, as you can appreciate where they are in the change in them as individuals trying to build their confidence, not only with the organisation but also with each other. So we've now reached that stage where that team will possibly, I don't think I'm answering the question hopefully here, working with Dance United. So we're going to do a bit of confidence building session with Dance United, a local organisation, but also to importantly help those individuals connect with one another and feel that they can express more with each other, because they've frankly been in a pressure cooker since they've joined. So I'd be interested in your point of view on that, or anything else that we could possibly consider.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I believe this is, again, this is very important, because when we think about our psychological state, our negativity, it is related to our overall state, to our physiology, and to our focus. So definitely culture, arts can help people, first of all, to create a tie, to work together, to be in touch. And I've been experiencing the use of arts with the Royal Opera House for a big investment bank, where they bring together leaders from different parts of the world to let them work together in order to facilitate the collaboration skills, in order to understand each other. And I could see that there have been a lot of benefits. But again, it is very important when you design your initiative to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what kind of impacts you want to have. And this is, I believe, is very important. Then work together with the artist, or much better with the arts facilitator, in order to make sure that the overall process is designed in order to make a real impact on the dimensions. And so that is very important. But definitely, arts can provide a lot of benefits in that dimension, in the area that I was calling networking, but also transformation, because there is also cultural issues involved in that dimension. Thank you. Please.
Hello, I'm Morris Boyd. I'm Managing Director of Avion Lovis. We're a corporate insurance brokerage. We have undergone some major changes at board level over the last 6 months, and we've just recently engaged in putting together a new 3- and 5-year strategy for the company, which the board are extremely excited and enthused about. We were quite keen, obviously, to cascade that enthusiasm down through the workforce, and we're just keen to see how the arts can help us in sharing our vision, so everybody's engaged in our vision, so collectively as one, everybody in the company has that vision and goes with it effectively.
This is very important. When we think about the vision, what is a vision? What is a vision? This is a big question for managers, executive in the room. Vision is an image, basically. How do we create an image, and how do we communicate that image across the organization? Arts can help to make that vision, that image tangible and more understandable. How do you design a very good strategy? How do we design strategy? I work in the performance management with Cranfield University, and now with Cambridge. But usually when we think about strategy, we think about numbers, key performance indicator that we cascade down from the balanced scorecard. This is important. but then how we communicate and make this understandable within the organization. Again, images can help to convey with one drawing thousands of words, and this is not just a way to say it. We can use, and there are examples of organizations, and I've been working with some organizations that use artists in order to draw pictures around their strategy. And this is very useful both for the managers, that they share their understanding of the strategy and around that picture, not only around the numbers, and then becomes also a very powerful tool to communicate that strategy within the organization and to make sure that everyone buys into that strategy and understand and is able to implement that strategy. Because the problem, again, it is not about defining the strategy, creating the vision very often, but is to make sure that people follow that dimension, the strategy, that vision. So again, yes, arts can provide a lot of benefits on that in a different way. Any other thoughts? Please.
The question I have, my name is John Ray, I'm an architect, and architects practice in Belfast. We have very nice offices. Our anniversary.
All architects always have very nice offices. I've never been in an architect office which was not nice.
Our anniversary of 50 years is coming up next year in 2013, and the question is how to transform the practice of the business for 2013. Because we as architects think we know everything, we can design everything, we can make everything, and we might be too management focused. And our thoughts is maybe we should bring in an artist in residence for a year to take the risk of helping us with that transformation and explore maybe odd ways that might go.
Well, I mean, architects are, if we look at the architect curricula, you integrate the understanding of the aesthetic dimension. So some of the things I'm speaking here are somehow implicitly already eradicated in your competencies. I'm speaking as architects. So for sure, the use of artists, particularly artists in residence, can provide a different perspective, but then depends again on what kind of issue you want to focus the attention. If the focus would be taking risks, so how we can learn how to taking risks. So it is very important to try to clearly identify what is the competence and the kind of knowledge asset that we want to develop, bringing in the artist in. And what kind of change we are interested in. And that is and then create a proper, if you want, cause-effect map in order to make sure that then produce an impact. But for sure, the use of artists in residence, you can use the artist as a way to mirror your actions and your behavior and provide a different perspective of what you do in order to get insights that probably by yourself you will not be able to generate. And so to use that kind of artistic mirror to see the reality in a different way, which could provide good insights in order to design your change. I believe that could be very, very powerful. Yeah. Other thoughts before moving? Please.
Just really a thought rather than a question. Just with the Chair of Arts and Business in Northern Ireland, but I'm also very involved with the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics strategy and how we implement that. And we've used partnerships with arts, both from a perspective of really trying to make complex concepts easier to understand, through actually with Northern Bank and Cahoot's Children's Theatre, for example, Math Magic, but also in the design. And also in arts and creative industries, as you said, they're an economically important industry. But it's just the way that you're talking, just wondering whether the management consulting organisations, are we going to see artists within the likes of PwC and KPMG, just because you're sort of saying that these management tools are starting to evolve, is that where you sort of see things going? And then, or do you still think that it's very much around artists working with businesses in that sort of partnership?
This is a very, very important question. A few years ago, because the wave of using arts in business started somehow 7 years ago, then for some time when the economy was going very well, there were some very interesting experience and pilot projects. And what happened at this big organization, they saw some artists working, they said, this looks good, this game that makes people laugh, it looks nice, let's try to use them. So there's still a lot of games, let's say, sorry for the big society, consultant society, there's still some of the games from artists. And they try to use, and they maybe sometimes they still use. The problem is not about taking just some games or some approaches. The problem, the issue is shaping this partnership in a new way. And this poses a lot of challenges. The first challenge is that we don't want to transform artists into consultants. We want artists to meet artists. And business. But the problem is there are some new professionals that are growing as arts facilitators, and it is important to create what I call arts architects, and a kind of artists that have, or not necessarily artists, could be also other forms, are different kind of consultants that have the kind of sensibility, understanding, because the use of arts and business require a deep understanding of the mechanism. It is not a naive approach. It has to be very deeply understood how it works in the business. And from this point of view, we need also a lot of more research in the area in order to understand the dynamics of arts and how this aesthetic dimension works within the organization, how we can manage, because all the traditional management consultancy company are focused on the rational approach. So, for sure, on one hand, there could be a new set of management companies, consultants management companies that can use arts. And from this point of view, I can see already some artists that are developing the skills. But the problem that we are facing is that on one hand, business still don't understand what they can get from arts. And so they are very skeptical and cynic, if you want, about the use of arts. And they prefer one-off relationship, but they are not really confident to integrate the arts inside the organization. Also because they don't have the understanding. Also because we have been trained according to the rational management model. So we still have that kind of mindset. And it's difficult to open our mindset. And so the arts are not in our radar in terms of mindset. So there is that challenge that business still don't understand the arts. The arts world is not able to create and shape the value proposition in a proper way to understand how they can create value for business, because there is a kind of attention, a self-reference attention about what we do in the creative and cultural industry. And the challenge is to bridge these two worlds. This is where I'm dedicating my research, my passion, my energy. But there is still a lot to work. And I think that some company will start to implement, will start to understand and explore new approaches. So probably when the big boys will understand, probably there will be more attention on this dimension, and probably there will be much more step forward in that direction. Please.
John Heaslip from Business and Community. We have about 40 people in an open plan office. And you were talking earlier in your presentation about the importance of the physical environment. We want to encourage more creativity, innovation, risk-taking. What are the building blocks in terms of the physical environment that people have put in place on a budget which wouldn't be like John's budget for his beautiful offices, which I've seen.
really cheap.
What do you think are the building blocks put in place that encourage an atmosphere of creativity?
So for sure, when we speak about interior design, architects can help us to create places that can be engaging. But what I believe could be useful and appropriate to do is to let people also to shape somehow their own environment. To let them to create an environment in which they are happy with. This can be done in many different ways. So, for example, in some organization in Italy, I saw some entrepreneurs that they have involved their employees in a kind of game way in painting or renovating the building. You know, they've done that by themselves. Another thing that I believe, a place that wants to be alive needs to have a living thinking inside. So, for example, plants. I don't know if you have plants in your offices, This is what I've done in my office with my collaborator. I bought 2 beautiful plants and put in the office, and I told them, if they die, you die too. So this is combining emotive approach with rational authoritative approach. At the same time, so the point of creating the right environment is a combination of tangible and intangible infrastructure. So the tangible dimension is about the colors, it's about the things that how you surround yourself, things like that, and also you design the space. And again, the architects can be useful. But around this, there is now quite a lot of research about how to shape and to create better working environment, to stimulate creativity, and to make sure that people are more prompt to take risks, which is not only about creating open spaces, but it's more creating cubicles, or creating spaces that are more creative. For example, I have a few images of the Google Zurich office, where they have created these very fancy spaces where people can meet and have fun, and bars. Diesel, another company I work with, they have, or Ducati, again, they have created the cafe area in such a way they can really engage and stimulate conversation. So there are different approaches, and not necessarily they need to be very expensive. But of course, the problem is the architect tends to be expensive. No, I'm kidding, of course. Okay, so I think we are approaching towards the end of our day, and I would like to conclude my day with my 3 preferred videos. These videos, for me, I really like this video because somehow this video, again, metaphorically, has the power to represent where we are and from where we come from. This first video is a metaphor of the importance of developing technical knowledge. So the importance of developing and paying attention on traditional aspects, which is about the know-how. This is a lady that needs to change the tire, as you can see, and as you well understand, she doesn't have a clue how to do that. So this is the case where she doesn't have the know-how, the proper know-how, and this is what can happen when you don't have the proper know-how. So you understand that you need to have knowledge in your business to do business. Second video, is having knowledge enough? Again, this is what I like to call the Italian common. We have knowledge, but the problem is that we work as we like to work, in a chaotic way, which is good in today's business, where they say bring this up. But the problem is that if you don't approach, you don't apply rational principle, management principle, even if you know what to do, this is what can happen. Of course, we are very often unlucky in the life. This is part of the system, and this is what happens. So we need know-how, and we need also the proper management system, the rational system to manage our know-how. The last video is the German know-how, with no offense to German friends, or English if you like, British proper. So in this case, we have everything in place. We have the proper know-how, we have the proper management system, the rational system, the scientific management is in place, approach, mass for cars, Sigma, total quality management, everything is there, strategy, vision, you have, this is the perfect company. This is the perfect 21st century company. The problem is that we live in the 21st century, and this is what can happen. So, my point is that, for sure, technical knowledge is important, but more and more we need to understand how to manage the emotive knowledge, which is about being able and ready to take a slap in our face, to be able to be enough resilient to react to that situation. And this is where culture, arts can help us. Because at the end of the day, artists works every day with unpredictability. This is part of their life. So my very last remark, most importantly, what I believe arts is for is arts can make our organization more human. And this is the real point. we need to realize that the central dimension of any organization are human beings. And organization exists to serve human beings. So arts, culture helps to create more human system. And this is, I believe, is the most important, profound message that I would like to leave you today. Thank you very much for your attention. And now we have the drawing of the books. So that's it. Who is the unlucky person that will read this complex book? Wow, this is artistic business card. It's good. This is Catherine Calvin. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the day, and I hope now I would like to.
That's absolutely wonderful, and hopefully we're all enthused now and we're going to think of some fantastic creative projects we can put into essence in the workplace. One last plug for us, there's still a few places left on the Kibosh walking tour tomorrow, which leaves Sawyers at 10:15. If anybody fancies doing that, then just give me a shout. But once again, thank you so much for coming and supporting Arts and Business Northern Ireland. Have a lovely day. Thank you.